Hello fellas, welcome to our mug video for mug number 6. Today we're going to talk about colons and semicolons. So we need a fresh sheet of notebook paper. Across the top, make sure you have your header filled in as well as the top right hand corner with your first and last name, the date, and the period. Our header today should say something like mug 6 colons and semicolons. And we have only 2 slides of video notes to go over today, so here we go. Colons are these things here that you see in the pink box. We use these for a few different reasons. Reason number 1, we use them to introduce lists. For example, the instruments in the string section are these, and then the colon right there, highlighted in green, indicates that we're going to begin a list. I have heard the following great violinists. Again, we have the colon right there, and then our list begins. We do not use a colon when we have a verb or preposition following. So, for example, if we said 3 famous artists of the previous century were, that would be incorrect. Instead, if we have this verb here, were, we simply got to take out the colon. If we want to keep the colon in, then we would say something like, there were 3 famous artists of the previous century, and then colon, and then you would list the 3. We also use a colon to introduce material that explains or restates. So the cause of a supernova was obvious. A star exploded. The second half of our sentence is explaining or restating the first half. We also use a colon between the hour and minute of the time, between the chapter and verse of biblical references, and after the salutation of a business letter. And I've given you examples of all 3 here. Please make sure that you are jotting down the examples when I give them to you, because they might come in handy come our exercise on Monday. Semicolons are used for these 2 reasons. So, we first use them to separate main clauses that are not joined by a coordinating conjunction. Remember, those are your fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. So if a coordinating conjunction or a fanboy is being used, make sure that you're separating the 2 clauses with a comma. That's one of our important comma rules. Make sure, though, if you do not have a coordinating conjunction and you are using a semicolon to separate the 2 halves of the sentences, the second clause, or whatever goes after the semicolon, has to be a continuing thought of the prior, so they should be related to each other. Josh finished first in the Halloween costume contest. He won a gold statue filled with candy, so the second half of the sentence directly relates to the first half of the sentence, but they are 2 independent clauses, and to indicate that these are 2 independent clauses, we got to include that semicolon. Semicolons are like fancy periods, pretty much. We also use semicolons to separate main clauses that are joined by adverbs. Adverbs describe verbs, among other things, such as however, therefore, nevertheless, moreover, furthermore, consequently, and other expressions such as, for example, that is, in fact, etc., etc. So we can also use semicolons to separate those guys in conjunction with a comma. So Josh was overjoyed to win. However, he had been afraid he would lose. So it kind of reads like this becomes a bit of an interruption or a transition part that we have to set off by a comma, but because these are 2 independent clauses, we have to separate the 2 independent clauses with a semicolon or a period. Like I said, semicolons are sometimes considered fancy periods. So those are the rules on colons and semicolons, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know.